YouTube family, welcome to Qué Golazo. Smash like and subscribe on the YouTube as we dissect a riveting Europa League final. Vamos! Well, it wasn't to be for Rangers, but Eintracht Frankfurt, what a magnificent journey, undefeated in the entire competition, and they win the Europa League Cup for the first time since, well, more than 40 years, really. 1980, when it was the Uefa Cup. Tremendous stuff from the Bundesliga side against the Scottish Premiership side. We've got a lot to discuss, of course. James Bench and some guy, I think he's called Michael Lahoud. I can't remember. He hasn't been here for a while. And also Jonathan Johnson will come soon. But wow, Europa League final. Qué Golazo recap begins right now. Hey, everybody, welcome to Qué Golazo. Qué Golazo Pod on Twitter, youtube.com/Qué Golazo. This is a live show. Throw in your comments for James Bench and Michael Lahoud. Jonathan Johnson is in the house as well. Let's welcome him in already. Let's do it. JJ, I'm just doing the intros. How are you, buddy? JJ, James Bench, Michael Lahoud, we're all here. So throw all your questions, all your comments. Let's do this. Well, I was going to do this by order of appearance, but Michael, you know, you had a good time now, the married life. You feel that you can come whenever. Let's go with James Bench first. James Bench, how are you, buddy? Your reactions after that victory from Eintracht Frankfurt went to penalties once again, just like last season.
Yeah, I'm just glad it's over, really. I did think that game might never end. It wasn't a glowing advertisement for Europe's second-tier competition, but, like, you know, it produced the drama in the end. I think this was maybe two teams that would really have liked to have been playing someone a little bit more prestigious, a little bit better, so that they could lean into the underdog role. And it's obviously it's a real shame whenever any player has to be the fall guy. And what were a series of excellent penalties all around, except that one by Aaron Ramsey.
I don't really think you can say it's not as glamorous when you reach the final of any European competition. I loved this game. This is what finals are all about. Yes. No, it's not the sexiest of games.
Not that it wasn't glamorous, but it was more that this were two teams that would want to play a big team that would feel obliged to, you know, if this was Barcelona against Rangers, Barcelona would have to come out and dominate the game and, you know, control possession. Rangers could hit them on the counter. Kind of what I meant was you have two teams here that would be happier trying to sit back, hit on the counter, and win that way.
Yeah, well, Bench, thank you. You always set me straight, except when it comes to the Premier League. We'll discuss that later. Okay. No, when it comes to this match, I loved everything about it. One, it feels awesome to be back, to see all of you lovely faces. And this match is what championship games and final games are all about. Not every game is going to be 3-0 end-to-end stuff. It's a chess match. And I thought these two teams, they gave it everything that they could. And at the end of the day, penalty kicks seem to be the formula for success in Europa League final competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to an extent, it was always going to be a very tight, very tetchy affair. You know, we were saying in the build-up that these are two teams who kind of are better reacting to what the opponent's doing, which, you know, kind of feeds off of James's point a little bit, as opposed to actually sort of setting the tone for the game. And I think that's why Eintracht at one point looked like they might, you know, have let the game get away from them. It was an awful mistake that gave Rangers the opportunity to open the scoring, you know, but they did get themselves back into it and then, you know, showed the greater nerves from the penalty spot. I think it was always going to be quite tight. My prediction was that Frankfurt would fight back and win it after extra time. I think Stefan, who was on doing the preview with us, actually called penalties. So a very good shout from him.
That was me, Jonathan Johnson.
It was you.
Yeah, please,
it was you after I forced you into it.
Please give me some credit, okay? I did predict Rangers would win it in penalty, so I jinxed them right there and then. But to your point, though, obviously, I think everybody can agree here that it was tight. It was, in many ways, because they're both counter-attacking the teams by nature, that kind of canceled each other out in many facets of the game. They didn't know what to do with the ball. Sometimes when they had it, they just went forward and aggressive. I mean, we'll talk about everything in a second. I just want to give everybody a call to action here, by the way. We want to thank you for all your support. To send in your questions, we'd love to answer them. But we've got a $100 Paramount Plus gift card to give away today. and it applies to U.S. residents only. Okay, so all my Peruvians are probably, you need to just leave now. All right, but to enter, follow Qué Golazo Pod on Twitter. All right, if you want to enter, follow Qué Golazo Pod on Twitter and drop your Twitter handle along with P+ in the chat. Or for those not watching live, in the comments section, and our producer will pick out one lucky winner. We'll announce today's winner on Sunday's live weekend recap show. Just going to put P+ in the chat, basically. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go around the circle one more time here. James Bench, Jonathan Johnson brought something up. I think you started it as well. You know, where do you think the game could have gone, at the very least in those 90 minutes, if Rangers, you know, could have gotten this victory? Because, you know, it wasn't pretty. The first half was a very ugly game. It was very ugly to watch. I think the second maybe got a little bit better. But did you anticipate something different, I guess, when the game started?
Not necessarily. I think, and we can maybe talk about this a bit more. I think the truth was it was always going to be tough for Rangers, because it should always be tough for Rangers. They just don't have, you know, they have really good players and some players who I'm sure we'll come on to talk about, who really emerged with their reputation enhanced from this game. But, you know, they don't have financial superpower. They don't have big names across the side. You know, this is a team that I think in their last accounts turned over about 50 million, which is about what PSG pay for their attack. Like, you know, I always
catering, actually.
You do. I always thought that this, you know, the quality would tell, but actually there was a moment where it looked like it wouldn't. And I think the real pity from a Rangers perspective, and even from a general perspective, I thought we witnessed an absolute masterclass from Connor Goldson and Calvin Bassey in particular, two players that, you know, with no great heralded name. I remember watching Connor Goldson when he was playing for Shrewsbury Town a few years back, and they were phenomenal. And I thought it was particularly cruel for Rangers that the only mistake either of them made when Goldson didn't attack his front post and Rafael Borre got through was what won the game. Because that aside, they had Eintracht Frankfurt pretty much at arm's length. There were some good chances in the first half, but nothing hugely dangerous. I thought Ryan Kent looked like he could win this game on his own. He just kept running into this wall of white players as Frankfurt were pushed further and further back. So sadly, you know, for Rangers, it really does pivot on that Goldson mistake. I still thought he was absolutely wonderful, although Calvin Bassey would be my man of the match. But if they got away with that moment, I think they might have been able to hold on and win it 1-0.
I agree with you when you say Calvin Bassey, man of the match. He was also the player that I was going to pick if Rangers won this match for man of the match. But in the first half, I thought Frankfurt for about 40 minutes were the better team. I thought they were the team that looked less shell-shocked. I think Rangers, barring the first 5 minutes, they look shell-shocked. They look like the team that I kind of expected them to be, like, holy crap, this is the Europa League final. And they played right into Frankfurt's hands. Remember how Frankfurt got to this final. They're high press. They're very comfortable allowing you to have the ball, allowing you to have 60% possession if you want, because they're very efficient. Remember, they're German. Efficiency's in their blood. It's in the DNA of their league. And they squandered a couple chances. You know, the Japanese attacking midfielder, I don't think he was as sharp. He had a half chance. Kamada. He had a half chance in the first half that he was trying to do a little bit too much. And then in the second half, as soon as Rangers scored the goal, he had a golden opportunity, 1v1 with McGregor, and he lobs it over the net. I think missed opportunities is what allowed Rangers to take advantage of that half chance and convert it into a goal. But I think Frankfurt, they were deserving of getting the equalizer in the end.
I think there were a few flashpoints during this match. I mean, we haven't got onto the Lundstram, potential sending off quite early on yet.
Let's get into it. What do you think?
I mean, you know, when your foot is up that high, there's always going to be some debate. But I think in a match of that kind of stature, a referee is always going to look for a way to avoid showing a red card that early on and potentially ruining the spectacle.
Yeah.
Then again, he's a player who's not exactly shy in moments like these. You know, it's not the first time that we've seen this kind of challenge go in. But as I was saying, it was one of a number of flashpoints, because let's not forget as well, Rangers very easily could have won that in extra time had Kevin Trapp not made an absolutely phenomenal save. And to be honest, Kevin Trapp, obviously, the hero for saving the penalty from Aaron Ramsey as well, but he's been phenomenal for Frankfurt in this run to the final as well. And this, I mean, for me, somebody who saw him really struggle under the pressure at PSG and then go back to Frankfurt and succeed in the way he has, it is quite rewarding, to see a player sort of, in the image of his team, succeeding in the way that he has. And, I think that there were a couple of fine moments there where the game could have been decided in either team's favor. Because I think if Lundstram goes off that early, Frankfurt probably win it in 90. But then again, if Rangers score at that moment in extra time, I don't think, that it even gets to penalties.
Just on that foul, I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, I understand the point JJ's making there. It's a final and, it's up to the referee to let the sort of spectacle flow. But I think we also have to call a spade here. That's a red card challenge. It is a challenge that disgraces John Lundstram and the Belinda Carlisle-inspired chant, "John Lundstram is the best on earth." It's a disgrace to that chant.
It may be late in the UK, James Bench, but you still got it, my friend. Well done.
I have to say, I think he deserves 3 matches, not just banned, but without that chant. It was a really poor decision, and I think I imagine that Christina and Cole would say the same thing. Like, you of course have to understand the spectacle, but a red card challenge is a red card challenge, and I thought he should have gone for that. I don't understand how VAR didn't instruct him to do that. Obviously, I know they can't then say you should give it a yellow, but I thought he should have been gone. And actually, having him on the pitch helped Rangers a lot in their good moments. It was really good.
To see no booking at all was pretty remarkable. And I agree. I think it was the ref really just thinking to himself, man, this is a final. It's the beginning of this game. I don't want to ruin anything. It was kind of
There's
similar.
100,000 Rangers fans who'll be furious.
And the ref was walking by Rangers fans. Exactly.
The ref probably has a cousin. He probably has a cousin in Glasgow.
The other point that I wanted to make, though, is that yesterday when I was watching Sheffield United Nottingham Forest, Michael Oliver was treating that game totally different to how he would ref a Premier League match as well. And sometimes I think like the atmosphere, the environment in itself makes you think, I'm going to ref this in a different way. But I'm with you, James Bench. This is, at the very least, a yellow, definitely a red for me. Shades of Nigel de Jong, they're saying there. By the way, we got a good question here. I wonder if any of you have the answer for this. I believe Dan Kane has it. Des Norris, has a team ever finished bottom half of their league? Because obviously Eintracht Frankfurt were 11th at the end of the season in the Bundesliga and qualified for the Champions League. Good question here. I
mean, I wouldn't think so. In England, we've had 2 teams, haven't we, that didn't finish in the top 4. I mean, I remember with Liverpool in 2005.
Yep.
They had to go all the way through the qualifiers, and obviously it wasn't until quite recently that we introduced the UEFA introduced Europa League winners get a Champions League spot. So I would be really surprised. The only 2 that come to my mind from an English perspective are Liverpool and Chelsea winning the competition, the Champions League, and coming back in. But even then, they weren't bottom.
They were higher up. Yeah, exactly. I can't think of one. Jonathan Johnson, Michael Lahoud. I don't know. It's a good question. I believe no. I mean, to your point, James Bench, is partly because this is a recent new ruling where the Europa League winner goes to the Champions League as well. That's part of it. But I mean, I think this probably is the first time ever in history such a low seeded in terms of the domestic competition to win a trophy. It's remarkable stuff here, Michael. Or JJ, go ahead. Anybody jump in?
No, I was just going to say,
JJ.
Well, no, I mean, Villarreal were 7th, I think, in La Liga when they won it last season, but that doesn't compare with Eintracht Frankfurt still being in the bottom half. Otherwise, I think when you look at, I mean, people will say what they want to say about the Europa League and its predecessor, the UEFA Cup, but there's always been some, quite high quality teams in there. When you look at the ultimate winners, okay, perhaps there's been some unexpected finalists, but the team that ultimately ends up winning it is normally one there or thereabouts in the top half of their table, certainly in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Although I think it's true that you end up having, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
No.
Although it is true that I think it will quite often take a lot out of your season to get this far. I remember talking to someone that ran the medical department, or the strength and conditioning department at a Premier League club that was in the Europa League, just saying, even though it's hard to explain, the Thursday, Sundays are so much harder than Wednesday, Saturdays. Obviously, you're flying further. You're maybe not playing on as good pitches. The squad is being rotated a lot more. It's in and out. And I think it's a really demanding competition. And I suspect we would have seen that with Frankfurt this season.
I think if you look at this Frankfurt team, look at the subs that they brought in versus what Rangers are able to bring in, the experience, the depth. They don't really have a lot of depth on this team and the roster makeup, so they have to prioritize which league or which competition they're going to focus on. And you typically see that with clubs outside of Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. If you're in European competition, you make a run, you have to go for it. RB Leipzig, they almost crashed out of Champions League qualification through the league because they went for it in the Europa League. They're not a team that has a lot of depth either. For Frankfurt, they play in the German Bundesliga, which was the most competitive team next to the Italian Serie A this season. If you look from third place to about 10th, maybe even sneak 11th with Frankfurt winning the Europa League this year, it is competitive as hell. You had to wait till almost the last 3 games of the season, maybe even the last 2, to book your ticket to Europe. So that tells you how good the German league has gotten this season. And it shows in the quality of what Frankfurt was able to do. Look at the opposition they beat to get to this final and then obviously win it. No, they didn't play against the marquee name in the final, but they earned every single ounce of respect to get to this final. I mean, they embarrassed Barcelona at their home ground. That's not easy to do, especially against a resurgent Barcelona side under Xavi this season.
I don't think anyone can really argue that Frankfurt didn't deserve to get to the final, but I think we can also say the same of Rangers as well. Nobody gave them a chance up against the likes of Leipzig. Yet for them to pull it off and get there was an achievement in itself. And I think something else to bear in mind, especially on the argument about squad depth, is how Rangers were really undermined by the fact that they had so many issues in their attack. You see Kemar Roof come on literally just in time for the penalty shootout. He was a big miss from the start. No Morelos at all. Another source of goals for Rangers. So, perhaps with a few fewer injuries or fitness issues, perhaps this is a different affair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only other thing that I was going to add that Stefan Biomikowski said a really good thing in the preview. The reason why Eintracht Frankfurt are 11th and kind of fighting up, aside from the fact that they're fighting against the Goliaths, it's also the fact that because they're such a counter-attacking team and they're relying a lot on sort of what the opponent does, that often doesn't suit them in the Bundesliga. Perfect for a knockout competition because they know exactly what they see in a different type of opponent and they just go at them. So it's a little interesting piece of information that Stefan brought in the preview. It was a good one. All right, we're going to take a break. Before we take a break, by the way, just wanted to remind you that we got a giveaway as well. I'll remind you right after the break as well, but please keep your questions coming. Jonathan Johnson will say goodbye right now. He's in Paris, so it's even later for him. JJ, thank you so much, buddy, for being here. I appreciate you as always, JJ. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Always a pleasure and looking forward to doing this live from Paris in a couple of weeks at the Champions League final with James Bench.
Exciting.
Yeah, you're going to show me all the fancy restaurants, 5-star Michelin star eating, isn't it?
Don't let him in there.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I've got lists as long as your arms.
Oh, God. Funny. Here we go. Jonathan Johnson, thank you so much. All right, everybody. We're going to take a break. Michael Lahoud, James Bench, LME. This is our Europa League final recap. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this game and some other finals to look ahead to as well, exclusively on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports. And that will be it. All right. So, Qué Golazo. We'll be right back.
The land under our feet. Everyone is here to steal from it.
Joe Pickett.
Game warden. What are you doing investigating a murder?
Who's there?
I'm going to enjoy running all of you out of town.
Sometimes power is more powerful than the truth.
Can't even see where the danger's coming from.
Joe, what happened to your face?
Game warden business.
Welcome back, everybody. Qué Golazo, Europa League final recap. Eintracht Frankfurt wins it in penalties against Rangers, their first European trophy for more than 40 years when they won this exact thing when it was called the UEFA Cup, of course. And we have James Benj in the house. Michael Lahoud, Jonathan Johnson joined us earlier. By the way, we're giving away a $100 Paramount Plus gift card. So just make sure that, go on write in your Twitter handle in the live chat. So write in your Twitter handle in the live chat or comment section for a chance to win. Our producer will pick out one winner for free access to one of the biggest catalogs on live and on-demand content known to mankind. Champions League, Europa Conference League, Serie A, the Scottish Premiership, of course, NWSL, NFL, movies, series, Keenan and Kel, South Park, The Real World. Come on, are you kidding? How could you not? You got to go there. All right, so make sure that you throw in your Twitter handle and some comment section, P+. We want to give it to you. All right, let's go back to this final. Michael Lahoud, Eintracht Frankfurt with a good victory here. Can I just for a second, please, can we just wax lyrical? Just enlighten me, Michael, just for a second. I really believe that Kostic's crosses are incredible. He's so good. How good is he? Do you rate him as high as I do and others do? He's unbelievable.
I love watching him just strike a soccer ball. It is like opening a Sports Illustrated catalog. Well, I'm not going to go deep down that rabbit hole, but you know what I'm getting at. It is just poetry in motion. The effort and the lack of effort, really, that he just puts into striking a ball. One of his first services in the first half, he didn't even look at where he's going to hit it. Puts his head down, connects with the ball, and the ball looks to just be on a string and bend around, just defying the laws of physics, bending around Rangers defenders. And of course, Calvin Bassey, as he did throughout the evening, except for one time, was there to save a potential goal. But when he scored that penalty kick, I just remember thinking to myself, God, I would love him at Manchester United.
God, the poor guy doesn't have anybody to find anybody to cross it for Michael Lahoud. Why you want to punish Kostic like
Air
that?
CR7, baby. Air CR7. First
James Bench, help me out here, please.
Yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore. I mean, I thought the best one was the sort of like, was it the 90th minute? It was like a sort of cross shot where he was like, I'm hitting this. So
what do you think it was? Do you think it was a cross or a shot?
I think it was kind of both.
It was like a mix.
His kind of view was, if I hit this, I think probably like he was aiming at like the post or just inside it. Like, I'll bend it away, and McGregor might be thinking, this is going wide. It's just something to provoke a bit of panic. And
he was totally like, oh, fuck this. I'm just going to throw it in. All right. Sorry, there's no just beep that out. But absolutely. I just feel like it's so good. You don't know what to do with those kind of crosses. We grew up, or at least I grew up in the David Beckham era, of course, and he would like swiftly put it over. It was like a beautiful, a bird diving into water. You kind of knew where it was going, but you couldn't stop it. This is like a missile. Boom. You just don't know where it's going.
I thought he was actually kind of quite quiet for a lot of this game until that Rangers goal, which really woke him up. I thought Rangers had done a quite excellent job of quietening him down, especially considering they kind of went for a back four, which I thought he might get space.
You thought Kostic was quiet up until the Rangers goal?
I mean, he was for what we know him as. He's the leading creator in this competition. Like
in terms of that, yes, but a lot of their chances were coming down the right-hand or left-hand side from him getting in the attack. If anything, I thought he baited Tavernier into getting really high up the field. Kostic played uncharacteristically low in possession when Frankfurt had the ball, which then baits Tavernier higher up the field. And what does that do? It hits Frankfurt right on the counter, hits him into that space where now Goldson and Bassey are running, putting out fires. And I thought that was actually a tactical move for him to stay further back.
That's interesting. I thought it never kind of like quite translated to him being influential in the final third. I mean, if you kind of look at the numbers, although I think that's a really good point and might kind of encourage a different look at the numbers. But from the 20th minute to the 68th minute, no chances created, and that one in the 20th was his only chance before. I mean, he was. What I would say is that he was quiet by the standards he has set, and as you say, leading chance creator, leading assist provider. Takes a huge number of shots, he does everything at the highest level. He's probably been the player of the tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And maybe in that context, all you can do is slow and not stop him, especially when you're Tavernier, who is more of a wing back. I think he's a fantastic wing back, but that's all you can do really is try and slow him down. And I thought Rangers did a good job of that. Did a good job after the early pressure of at least holding the ball for long periods. Yeah. I think, this was going to be a game where for them it was going to be capitalizing on, mistakes, on errors. They did that. And then for a moment, everything might have changed. But, unfortunately, they made one of those mistakes as well. And then they made the only one in the shootout. Yeah, well, pair everybody here regarding the recap and talking about this final. We do have our favorites in terms of who, spoke out. It definitely, as the game developed, a lot of comments on Kevin Trapp. We're talking, of course, about Kostic, but, there could be other contenders. Who is your man of the match, everybody? Would love to hear your thoughts. I thought, just for that save alone towards the end of the game, Kevin Trapp probably deserves it. But, we are welcoming everything else. Rafa Santos Jorge, what an introduction to Europe for him. The things that he has done in this competition, not just the final. I wanted to just quickly talk about Rangers for a second, because even though they've lost this game, it has been a remarkable journey, James Bench. This 10-year journey was 10 years ago when they went into administration. Unbelievable. Demoted to Scottish League 2 after going into administration in 2012. The year later after that, they were champions of League 2. Then the champions of, obviously, the Premiership in 2014. Then the championship winners in 2016. 2021, they were Premier League champions, the first since 2011. And then the Europa League final. So there are things that have been getting better. And this season, even actually, Steven Gerrard left for Aston Villa, and then Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had to come in. So obviously they didn't win the Premiership this season. That's Celtic, but still, though, quite a 10 years, James Bench. I mean, it's remarkable. I think one thing we have to say is, in the context of Scottish football, once it became clear that they could continue as a going concern, that they would have Ibrox, that they would have the name, and all these things were up for debate. Back in the summer of 2012, I kind of remember that, there were conversations about, would we ever see Rangers again, or would they go straight back into the Scottish Premiership? Because how could Scottish football survive with just one of Celtic or Rangers? But, I would say it's, once the ship was steadied, once the climb started, it was always going to end domestically at where they are now in this duopoly with Celtic. It's just the nature of Scottish football. But what we have to say is this was never supposed to happen. Not only, this was so beyond the realms of likelihood that UEFA have just invented another competition for teams like Celtic and Rangers. This is what the Conference League's for, not the Europa League. Rangers, as I said earlier, they have a turnover of £50 million. Their squad is full of real talent, but it's not players that they can spend £10 million on. Joe Aribo picked him up from Charlton, Calvin Bassey as well, out of the Leicester Academy. Connor Goldson, as I mentioned, he'd helped Brighton into the Premier League, but not an established player there. And then you've got a 40-year-old goalkeeper, a 37-year-old midfielder in Stephen Davis as well. There's quite a few players that you look at and go, I thought you retired a decade ago.
Yeah, I thought he left after he left Villa. I was like, I thought you were done, man. He scored a really good penalty today. Michael, anything on that? Because Rangers pretty impressive in this last season.
As weird as Benj, I was listening to you talk so eloquently about the last 10 years, and I just started reminiscing. And when I came into this final, I poured my coffee this morning. I turned on the radio, and I'm musically just inclined when it comes to football. And I just closed my eyes, and I thought of Rangers, and I thought, turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit. Oh, I know, but it wasn't to be today.
They didn't sing that at your wedding, did they, Michael?
No.
More importantly, you didn't sing that at your wedding, did you, Michael?
I'd ban myself from the show. I'd go from friend of the show to no more friend of the show.
Yeah.
Benj, I know you're, I know you're with me.
We are particular on our music here.
No, it's been just miraculous to see not just what they've done in the last decade, but to see what they were able to do. I'm going to go back to November 11th, a day for Rangers fans that could have been a day that all Rangers fans lived in infamy, when a certain Birmingham club poached a one Stephen Raymond Gerrard. Not sure if his middle's name.
Yeah, I was
Raymond.
going to
We'll
say, is Raymond his middle name?
I don't
Please
know.
let
Yeah,
that-
my
please
guy
let
at
that
the
be his
British
middle name.
Embassy.
That would be
My
amazing.
guy at the British Embassy tells me so. No, but when your manager who's just helped you win the Premiership departs for a job that is a
George, by the way.
dream job. Yeah. Oh, George. Ooh, Raymond, close.
Stephen George Sherrod. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When your
that's
manager
right.
leaves at the start of a promising season, that is really hard.
Undefeated, by the way.
And yeah, 9 times out of 10, you just catapult into just dismay. And full credit to Gio van Bronckhorst. This guy's a Champions League winner. He was one Arjen Robben 1v1 breakaway miss away from being a World Cup champion. This guy's a winner. He's won at just about every single level, and he's bringing that sense of belief to Rangers of not only can we compete domestically, but now we can compete in Europe's biggest competitions. And that's the Rangers of old, and it's just it's the stuff romantics and romanticism about football is made of.
Yeah, you can see why Manchester City have been sort of spoken about as. I mean, there was a time when the conversation was City view Van Bronckhorst as one of the potential Guardiola successors, and I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to judge based on Scottish Premiership football and being underdogs in European competitions how he might fare in the Premier League. Although we see from Gerrard there's something interesting there. So, and we've seen from likes of Brendan Rodgers as well. Yeah. This can be a good leaping off point. And I'm sure we're going to see that with some of these players. I mean, the one that we haven't mentioned that I've been kind of saying, you can't let this player pass by, Ryan Kent.
Yes. Yeah, unbelievable player.
I mean, he's
kind of an academy player at Liverpool, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I've always thought, I mean, this is kind of a very particular thing that maybe if Aaron West is watching, I'm sure he'll get. He's a sort of FIFA Ultimate Team player. He is 5-star dribbling, 5-star weak foot. But then you think, actually, is this going to matter on the pitch? But it's that 5-star dribbling, the 5-star skill moves and weak foot. He gets you up off your seat. He was the one, mentioned the time, lucky enough to be at Ibrox for the second leg of the semi-final. Every time he got the ball, it quietens for a split second of excitement and anticipation, waiting for what he's going to do. He is going to go a long way. And Rangers and Celtic, they both understand now and have enjoyed success in Europe by being a feeder club. And that's, that is sadly where the economics of the game means they will be. And Ryan Kent will move on. Aribo, Glenn Kamara, so many good players that top European teams should be going, I want them. This might be the kind of the flashing moment of Rangers, and it's a shame for them that it didn't end in a trophy. But what a team and what a ride!
As we're talking about these sort of players, the Kents, the Aribos, moving on. If you're Gio van Bronckhorst, what do you do to keep these players? Because it's one thing to get this group to reach a final, and you come up short, but now there's going to be teams you're interested. I mean, I tried to call Ten Hag on his personal, but he blocked me again. So, I might have to get someone else. My guy at the embassy again. You're 0 for 2, bud. Sorry, but I'm thinking just longer term is there should be a sense of excitement for Rangers fans. I know it's just heartache tonight. It's going to be heartache for a short while until the next season starts up. But these are young players, young talent. If Van Bronckhorst can find a way to keep them and keep them inspired and keep them believing the Rangers is where they need to be for one more season, they're going to be scary in this competition again.
Well, I'll tell you something. They got, they have a Scottish Cup to think about because they're facing Hearts as well. So they got to turn, whatever they're thinking about it, this hangover very quickly. But I think coming second in the Scottish Premiership, obviously, it's always a two-horse race, almost always. So, that should be an incentive in terms of European competition for next season. But yeah, there's a lot to ponder here within this very, very talented squad. By the way, I just want to make something clear to those that may not know. Scotland did not want Rangers to win. I just want to tell you that, okay? I don't want you to think that this romantic, neutral people are thinking, "Oh, come on, No, Scotland did not want Rangers to win. I just want to remind that to everybody. Okay, I had many comments reminding me that of Twitter. I have a lot of Scottish friends that were just like, "No, come on, Frankfurt," because they are. Imagine United in the '90s. It's like times a million over there. Them, there is definitely like a lot of resentment, right, James Bench? I know that you wanted to add something to this.
Yeah, if I can give you an example on that, obviously going back into that semi-final. My grandmother grew up in Salkirts, which is near near Glasgow, Kelly clan. Those of you that kind of are from, let's say, Ireland or Scotland will immediately kind of know a little bit about her from that surname, but Catholic background, Celtic fan. And I rang her. I'd not been to Glasgow in a very long time, and I rang her and said, "Oh, I'm in Glasgow." She's, "Oh, lovely. What are you doing there?" And I sort of said, "Oh, I went to the Rangers game," and it was just. And the woman's 96 years old, and I've never heard her as angry at me as she was. And she said, if my brother and her brother had season ticket at Celtic, kind of knew everyone who was everyone at Celtic. She sort of said, if he was still alive, he'd never speak to you again, just for going to Ibrox. And I was like, it was there for work, and she's like, maybe speak to you in a year.
Yeah, it's the many stories. Like there's something very special as well about Scottish football culture. I always compare it a little bit to South American. The passion is incredible, but yes, make no mistake about it. Almost all of Scotland is happy about this result today. I just want to remind everybody. All right, we want to wrap things up here, by the way, by giving you some more information. Remember the Paramount Plus $100 gift card. Please throw them in the comment section if you watch or listen to this later on. We've got the Alex Ferguson documentary, by the way, on Paramount Plus, speaking of all of this regarding the sectarian divide as well. There's a lot in there, including all those matches. And we have some much more action coming your way. We got 2 more UEFA finals to cover next week as well. The Conference League as well. Roma against Feyenoord. And we also have a little game, I think, Real Madrid against Liverpool. As we speak, Liverpool are still going for that quadruple. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to make it happen, but we will see. But they still have a Champions League final against Real Madrid. And who knows, a certain Kylian Mbappe might announce a new club. But James Bench, pretty remarkable the fact that we still got 2 UEFA Cup finals. Conference League, give me and Champions League final. Give me some quick thoughts on both, and then Michael jumps.
I mean, the Conference League final looks like a great little spectacle. I cannot wait to see how Jose Mourinho is. If he can say he is the first manager to have won every UEFA competition, he's going to post
that all over Instagram when he says this.
Oh, man.
It's the thirst he's got for the Europa Conference League. My big theory on Kylian Mbappe, if I were in charge of Real Madrid, I know this is the Champions League final. I know that Nasser Al-Khelaifi wishes that Bruce Springsteen was playing the Champions League final halftime show. I have a better plan. Okay. It's the Stade de France. This is Kylian Mbappe's ends. This is prime Mbappe territory. This is the ideal opportunity for some all-world posting. So not posting, all-world trolling and posting.
Yeah.
Half-time on the pitch in Saint-Denis. Get Mbappe out, announce him on the pitch. We all know that. Just imagine how angry PSG would be. Imagine Jonathan Johnson's little face in the press box as you see Mbappe 7, Real Madrid.
Just a massive troll. Just parachute him in at the halfway line wearing a Real Madrid shirt. That'll be absolutely ridiculous. Michael, what are you looking forward to in these next UEFA finals?
Benj, I love that. I'm having flashbacks to when Borussia Dortmund were playing Bayern Munich in the 2013 final at Wembley. And what does Bayern do? They announce Borussia Dortmund's one of their best players, Mario Götze, right before the final. And they're playing the team. And it's the biggest piss take.
And that's extra worse in Germany because they announced this stuff like 8 months before.
They announced him and showed him at the match as a Bayern Munich player. That is world-class trolling. And, hey, these mind games work like a charm. Yeah. For the Conference League, I think it's just so funny. A trophy's a trophy, and European trophies are everything. But I think it is so interesting that we were talking earlier about this competition was made for the Rangers and Celtics. to get into Europe and win something.
Yeah.
And now the special one is winning, potentially has a chance to win this trophy. But what if he loses?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to disregard Feyenoord because they're a very good team in this competition. They play very attractive football. It would just be, I'm with James Bench. At the moment Jose Mourinho wins this trophy, just mute him on Instagram because it's going to be, or maybe not. Maybe you're all about it. I'm all about the Jose Mourinho chaos. I don't mind. I don't mind. Champions League final, though, Real Madrid against Liverpool, a massive game. You can watch it exclusively on Paramount Plus, CBS Sports HQ. We're going to have all the coverage next week, by the way. We're all over this, the entire gang. We're going to talk about every single final. We're going to lead up to the Champions League final and much, much more. So make sure that you stay tuned because it's going to be, ooh, baby, fantastic. Maybe not as good as Kylian Mbappé parachuting himself in the middle of but boy, oh boy, I'm with you, James. I think that would be kind of amazing. All righty. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for this show. Don't forget, we got a Paramount Plus gift card to give away, so make sure that you throw that in the comment section. But final thoughts before we say goodbye. James Bench, final thoughts, my friend.
Yeah, we have just mostly to keep this going so people can still enter for that gift card. We haven't really talked about the penalties too much because I have a pet peeve with the penalty Aaron Ramsey took. I should also say penalty footballers now are great at penalties, unless Bryce Sambers against them.
Yeah.
If you're a Mike Lahoud, as a professional footballer, maybe you can correct me on this. I just think if you're taking a penalty down the middle, which I actually think is a really good idea, hit it high enough that it can't just hit the goalkeeper's legs, because that's really what
I hate down the middle penalties.
Yeah,
when Shearer used to take them and the goalkeepers would just like dive out of the way because they're like
Alan Shearer.
Through me.
The thing about Alan Shearer's penalties is you knew where it was going. You just couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
He just smashed it. He smashed it. It was beautiful. Michael, jump in.
I hate going down the middle. The penalty kick takers that go down the middle, they have cojones the size of subwoofers in the back of my truck, which are big. You got to have the confidence to do that. If you're Aaron Ramsey did not look confident going up, and look, it's Aaron Ramsey. This guy has scored on the international level. When he plays for Wales, that ball goes in the top corner. Apparently for Rangers, it doesn't. And he didn't look confident going on. And those are the gambles that you take as a manager. What struck me more, Rangers, all penalty kick takers were all right-footed. That gives the goalkeeper time after time after time of studying where to go.
Especially someone like Kevin Trapp. Yeah, that's correct.
And then Frankfurt, 3 of their PK takers left-footed, 2 righties. And they all interchanged them.
Yeah.
Keeps you second guessing if you're a goalkeeper.
The majority of them were very, very good. But then down the middle ones, I'm not too. All right. Well, final thoughts, Michael Lahoud, before we say goodbye.
The first of 3 European trophies are in the bag. And, this is a good thing for football. I think it's a good thing that the Bundesliga is getting the love it deserves for the uptick in competition that it's shown this year. And it makes me happy to see what happens next year for this competition. I hope that the viewership was through the roof. And it was good to see a team like Rangers, just the romantic journey that's been from 10 years ago, getting to a final. And, hey, let's do it again next year.
I love it. Well, that was it. That was a Europa League final recap. Eintracht Frankfurt victorious. Congratulations to the Eagles. James Bench. Make sure to follow his content and James Bench as well on CBS Sports, and Michael Lahoud as well. Mike Lahoud as well on Twitter. Don't forget about the Paramount Plus gift card. We've got a few given away. And like I said, we have plenty more to come, including our weekend preview as we divulge into the final days, the final games to see, what the titles, where they will conclude, because it's not just the Premier League, Serie A as well is very, very tasty with both teams in Milan. All right, well, that is it. Thank you so much. LME here, Michael Lahoud, James Bench, Jonathan Johnson earlier. Have a fantastic rest of your evening or day, and make sure to follow us, Qué Golazo Pod on Twitter, youtube.com/Qué Golazo. Have a fantastic day, evening. Till then, bye-bye.